I lost a crew member overboard.
The Coast Guard received a report of a person in the water south of Montauk Point.
Finding somebody floating in the ocean is probably one of the most difficult things.
We're not talking a little ways. We're 40, 50 miles offshore.
Dehydration, hypothermia. How hard are they going to fight to live?
I have known John since second grade, and we bought a boat together in 2006. We're commercial fishermen. We catch crabs, lobster, and other seafood out of New York. It's so different than the normal of what most strap hangers are involved in doing. It's a lifestyle, it's not work. It was just a normal night. We loaded the boat up like we normally do. We got down around 8 o'clock, put bait on board. We filled some coolers up with ice, and away we went out the inlet. Maybe 10 o'clock, John was outside on the back deck, and he said, go lay down, I got it for a while. And I went down to my bunk, and I went to bed. The next thing I remember, I ran upstairs and, John was not on board the boat. Coast Guard.
This is fishing vessel Anna Mary.
My crew member lost at sea.
Can you please come help?
Fishing vessel Anna Mary, this is Coast Guard Sector Long Island Sound. Roger, Captain, understand.
Crew member from your vessel has gone overboard.
When I first heard their position and realized where they were, I knew our search area was going to be big. That far offshore, it's like a needle in a haystack. I started receiving multiple searching units, Coast Guard aircraft, a helicopter, a small boat from Montauk, 2 cutters. There was a civilian aircraft that wanted to get up.
We're trying to figure out what to do, how we can best use everybody, and then we also have to talk to the family, and that's one of the most difficult things in a search case.
I received a call 9 o'clock in the morning. He says his son John is missing. He fell off the boat in the middle of the night and was searching. I'm saying to myself, oh my God, 6 hours in the water already with no life jacket. This is not good.
My wife came running up the stairs, just screaming, Johnny's missing, Johnny's missing. And my son Jake, Johnny's nephew, was with me, and he started saying, my buddy fell off the boat. So he immediately realized, what was going on, because he started getting upset and his lower lip started quivering.
I was sad that he was gone because I love my Uncle Ronnie.
Me and my sister-in-law got in the car. I was like, we're going to the Coast Guard station. And my mother, as I was walking out the door, was yelling to me, Kathy, bring home my son. You bring him home to me. And that is what was sticking in my head all day.
It doesn't always end happily, and last year we did lose 12 mariners within our area of responsibility. Imagine a coconut floating on the water, because that's really what we're looking for. And in this case, when we have to search the area the size of Rhode Island, the fear I had is, are we going to be able to find him, and how quickly?
We're trying to isolate down the smallest areas possible of where he could have actually fell over. So I really started to just try to figure out what happened. Why is he not on board the boat? One of the coolers was half moved off a hatch, and the handle was a few feet off the back of the boat. I realized that he was filling the tanks up. I then remembered where we said we would start filling the tanks, and I looked at my computer chart, and I told the Coast Guard that he's going to be somewhere on the 40-fathom bank.
With the new information we got from the captain, we went ahead and broke it into 2 separate search areas. We'll give a higher probability to this smaller search area that the captain believes is most probable that he went overboard.
We were sitting at a just over 70-degree water temperature, but even though that seems warm, it really only gave us about 19 hours before John lost his ability to use his arms and his legs.
I'm only doing 7 miles an hour, so to get back to where I think he fell over took me 2 hours. My friends, my fishing friends, were phoning me on the VHF radio They were leaving their fishing grounds and headed towards where I thought they should look.
We had a flood from the local community. 14 fishing vessels all get underway. This is great, this is tremendous. How can we do it safely?
We orchestrated ourselves a half a mile apart, squared off an area where I thought he was, and we just started searching for him in that area.
At the Coast Guard station, you don't know what's going on really. You're kind of in the loop, but not in the loop. You feel helpless, you know? That's how I felt. I felt helpless.
Pon Pon, all stations. It's United States.
Once we get the search patterns out, sometimes it's painful because you're doing a search and you gotta let the assets do the search.
They basically just said, if he's out there, we'll find him. We'll find him. And what's going through my mind is, okay, we'll find him how? What condition? You know, is he gonna be still with us or is he gonna be gone?
As time goes on, it gets harder and harder to stay enthusiastic about finding the person. This case, hours went by.
Our helicopter had 30 minutes left of on-scene time, and we said, go ahead back, refuel. And they said, no, give us another pattern.
Sector from the O2, we have eyes on the survivor. Currently loading the rescue swimmer in the water to resuscitation.
This is one of those things that we live for. For lack of a better word, it was goosebumps.
Fishing vessel Anna Mary, sector Long Island Sound.
When it was past Anthony that his buddy was found, I've never heard so much joy in a man's voice.
Oh, thank you so much. Woo! You guys are the best.
The radios went off. We had about 12 minutes of cheering, just straight. It was incredible.
Got me up in the helicopter and the captain pulled his mask back. He goes, man, you got some will to live. We were out there for hours looking for you. We figured we'd find a body after all that time, you know? And I told him I had too many people that loved me to die, so there's no way I was giving up.
The whole Coast Guard station erupted. I think in their thoughts, they thought he was gone.
Out of all the cases I've had, this is the only one, after I've had the conversation with the family to let them know we're missing their loved one, that I've been able to go back and say we found him.
My girlfriend, my sister, my brother-in-law, and my sister-in-law came up to get me at the hospital. So they were the first ones to see me and, you know, all, freaking out.
He's funny because he goes, come here, give me a kiss. So I hugged him, I gave him a kiss and told him I loved him.
At that point, Johnny said to my husband, it was your boy that kept me alive.
He swam and he kicked so hard because he wanted to see me bad.
About 5 hours into our trip, I started getting the boat ready to start fishing. I noticed one of the caps on one of the tanks wasn't on, so I had to move the cooler off the hatch. I grabbed the cooler and went to pull it off the tank, and with that, the handle snapped and I just went flying out the back of the boat. As I fell in the water, I tried to grab the stern just at the last second, and that was it. It just kept going away from me. You're panicking and then you don't know what you can do or anything, and I started getting a little scared there and realized that my boots were really buoyant. So I pulled my feet out of my boots and I grabbed them and I held on to them like this. I was out of the water up to my chest, you know, I couldn't believe it, how buoyant they were. About an hour after being in the water at night, I had shark fins swimming around me, checking me out. And I knew I didn't want to get my heart rate up because, you know, they never really come check you out. So I just pretty much blocked them out of my head and I said, if they're gonna come at me, they're gonna come at me and I'll deal with them when they come at me. I just basically focused on staying alive, staying afloat, and not even worrying about those sharks. Sunrise comes, I see a buoy a couple 100 yards away. I grabbed onto that buoy and, you know, I just kept my hopes up. You know, you're sitting there, you're floating, you're looking, and all of a sudden there's a boat. I'm waving and I'm flagging and nope, nothing. And they just keep going and keep looking and they drive away, you know, and you're like, oh. And then I seen the helicopter the whole time, all day long, going back and forth all day long and totally not in the right spot, you know. So with the boots under my arms, I just started swimming to to the west more, trying to get more in their search pattern. I got to the next set of buoys, and I sat there going, all right, this is where I'm staying, you know? I mean, this is where I'm gonna end up. If I felt myself deteriorating enough, I was gonna tie myself to the buoys. I knew they were my friend's buoys. He'd eventually find me, and at least my family would have my body. My nephew's 4, you know? I'm real tight with him, and I couldn't let him down, you know? I'll do everything I gotta do to get back, and thank God for the Coast Guard, you know?
I feel better about him on the water right now. When he goes out on the water, I know there's nothing that's gonna stop this guy. I even had his boots tattooed on my arm with the location and date that they found him.
You get a tattoo because it's something that means so much to you. Whether it's his brother or a cousin or a friend, Johnny's family to them. Johnny's in their heart.
I took 2 trips off, only because my family was like, you can't go right back out, you gotta, you know, and I'm like, all right. I was ready to go right back out, but, you know, I had to make like it bother me, I guess, I don't know. You know, I don't know.
He's a fisherman. He catches stuff, a lot of stuff. Tunas, anything.
We work 18, 20 hours a day. We sleep every other day, but it's great. It's a nice way to live. I wouldn't trade it for anything.